There is a common saying, if your husband or wife once left, searching for someone better or themselves, never let them back into your life. My ex-wife, Seraphina, left me 2 years ago. She called it finding herself, which was merely a graceful euphemism for finding someone else. I didn't make a scene. I didn't beg. I just watched her pack up her life and walk out through the same door where we once built our shared dreams of the Chicago suburbs. I was utterly broken then. There's no point in denying it. The silence that followed her departure wasn't peaceful, it was suffocating. When you get used to someone's voice filling your days, their sudden absence makes even your own thoughts feel alien. Yet, slowly, I rebuilt, brick by brick. I renovated the living room, where every corner screamed of a shared past. I started running again, along the Lake Michigan waterfront. I learned to cook something more complicated than takeout. And one day, it dawned on me. An entire week had passed without me thinking of her. It became my personal sign of healing. Then, 3 weeks ago, she showed up on my doorstep. It was late in the evening. I was making pasta when the bell rang. When I opened it, she was standing there. The same faint trail of perfume, the same soft smile, the same familiar eyes that were trying in vain to hide her nervousness. "Hi, Ethan," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. For a moment, I just stared. A part of me wanted to slam the door, another yearned to hear her words. She looked around as if entering the ghost of a memory. "You changed everything," she said, touching the frame of a new photo on the wall. "Yes, I had to," I replied. We sat in the living room, on the same sofa where she had once announced she was no longer happy. She spoke the way people do when they are trying to ease their own guilt. She said she had made mistakes, that life on the West Coast hadn't been what she expected, that she missed the sense of security I had given her. I listened, calmly, detachedly, almost with amusement, because the man she was addressing no longer existed. Then she said the thing that almost made me laugh. "I've been thinking about us again. Maybe we could start over." Her voice broke on the last word to sound vulnerable. Before I could answer, the front door opened. I had forgotten to lock it earlier. Seraphina froze at the sound of footsteps. And then Chloe, her best friend, walked in. The same Chloe who had once warned me that Seraphina was selfish. The same Chloe who was there when my world fell apart. Chloe smiled. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Seraphina's face went white. Her mouth opened as if she were trying to speak, but no sound came out. The room became heavy. This kind of silence doesn't just fill the air, it presses down on you. Chloe, conversely, looked calm, almost too calm. She placed a bag of groceries on the kitchen counter as if she had done it 100 times, and turned back to me with a faint smile. "Dinner smells great," she said, ignoring the storm brewing opposite her. Seraphina's voice finally returned, sharp and trembling. "What? What is she doing here?" I leaned back, crossing my arms. "You came without an invitation, Seraphina. She didn't." Her gaze darted between us, looking for any sign of a lie, any crumb of hope that this wasn't what it looked like. But it was exactly what it looked like. Chloe coldly broke the silence. "I told you once, Sarah, you don't value people, and one day you'll lose the ones who genuinely cared about you." Seraphina's face showed initial confusion, then understanding, and then pure fury. "Are you serious, Chloe?" she spat. "You were supposed to be my friend." "I was," Chloe replied calmly, "until I saw what you did to him. It cost me a lot, but I saw your true colors." I could have intervened. I could have defended one of them, or at least stopped the awkward scene. But I didn't. Watching them stand against each other felt like closing a chapter I had never properly finished. Seraphina laughed bitterly, defensively, desperately. "So what? You two decided to play house while I was gone?" I looked her straight in the eye. No, Seraphina, you chose to leave. I just stopped waiting. In that moment, her external composure completely fractured. She took a step closer, her eyes shining with welling tears. I made a mistake, Ethan. I thought I would find something better, but no one ever made me feel the way you did. For a second, I felt an echo of old emotions, the ghost of the man who had done anything to hear those words 2 years ago. But ghosts don't belong in the present. I stood up. You had your chance, Seraphina. In fact, twice. The first time when I loved you, and the second when you walked through that door tonight. Chloe stood beside me, silent but unwavering. Seraphina's gaze flickered between us again, and I saw it, an empty mix of jealousy and regret. She turned away, muttering something under her breath, grabbing her designer handbag. By the door, she stopped, piercing me with a look. You'll regret this, Ethan. I shook my head. No, Seraphina, I already did, and I just don't want to do it again. And then she left. This time, for good. The door clicked shut, and a long silence instantly fell. The tension slowly dissipated, giving way to a strange calm, the kind that follows a storm when you realize the house is still standing. Chloe quietly exhaled. Are you okay? I nodded. Yes, just surprised. She smiled faintly. You handled that better than I expected. 2 years ago, you would have begged her to stay. I know. That's how things are different now, I said. We sat down again, the air still heavy with everything unsaid. I thought about how life had strangely twisted, how the very person who had once torn my world apart had just walked out of it for the last time, and the one who had helped me rebuild it was standing right beside me. I looked at Chloe. She caught my gaze and held it. There was a quiet understanding between us, built not on drama or desperation, but on shared, hard-earned truth. She had seen my worst days. I had seen her patience through it all. There was no room left for pretense between us. She finally broke the silence. You know, she came to see me a few months ago, said she missed the stability you gave her. I told her she didn't miss you, she missed the comfort she thought she could return to at any moment. That stung a little, mainly because it was true. Seraphina didn't come back out of love. She came back because the outside world hadn't reciprocated her feelings. Chloe stood up and started unpacking the groceries she had brought. Are you still hungry? She asked. I smiled. Yes, actually, very much. As she busied herself in the kitchen, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not tumultuous excitement, not agonizing obsession, but just peace. And that was when I realized how rare that feeling was. As she placed a chopped onion on the counter, I noticed her sleeve had ridden up slightly, revealing a small, faint bruise on her wrist. The bruise was the size of a coin, purplish but almost faded, hidden beneath the cuff of her sweater. The tension that had just dissipated after Seraphina's departure instantly returned, but this time it was focused only on me and that small mark. I could barely take my eyes off it while Chloe animatedly talked about finding my favorite spices at the store. Chloe! My voice was lower and sharper than I expected. She stopped, her hand frozen above the pan. Yes? What is that? I nodded toward her wrist. Her face didn't change, but she quickly pulled her sleeve down. Too quickly. Her smile became a little strained. Oh, that? Nothing. I had a bad fall running down the subway stairs yesterday. You know, typical Chicago. I folded my arms across my chest. You rarely take the subway, and you don't fall. I know how you move, Chloe. Finally, she sighed. She turned, and her eyes met mine. The calm was gone, replaced by the exhaustion she had been so meticulously hiding. It doesn't matter, Ethan. It's in the past. It does. You helped me rebuild my life. You were my rock. If something is happening to you, it matters, especially if it was because of him. I didn't say the name, but we both knew who I was referring to, the man she had been seeing for the past year. She looked away. You know, it was difficult. When you started recovering, I felt like my own pain wasn't worth the attention. I went to someone who seemed strong, but it was different. Just leave it. It doesn't matter now. Doesn't matter? You just drove Seraphina away because she hurt me, and you're hiding something similar from me? I insisted. She walked up to me, her touch unexpectedly soft but firm. Tonight is not about my pain, Ethan. It's about you being free, about you finally being done with Seraphina. Let's just eat. I let her change the subject because I knew she wouldn't back down, but I made a decision. Later that evening, after dinner, we sat on the porch, enjoying the cool air. Crickets chirped loudly, and the sky was dark and vast. Chloe leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you think she'll come back again?" she asked quietly. "Probably," I said, "but this time she has nothing left to look for here." She nodded, then smiled softly. "Good, because she already lost the best thing she had." I looked at her, a faint laugh escaping me. And what about me? What did I find? Her eyes met mine. Someone who won't run when things get tough, even when you're not looking. The night stretched around us, calm and quiet. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel haunted by the past. I just felt at home. I ran my hand across her cheek, and she closed her eyes, leaning into my touch. "Can we talk about your wrist tomorrow?" I asked quietly. She slowly opened her eyes, looking at me with an unreserved tenderness that allowed for no lies. "We can," she whispered, "but only if you promise me that you will never be alone in this Chicago house again." I smiled, realizing that those words were worth 2 years of struggle. "Never, I promise." I leaned in to kiss her, and I knew that this story hadn't ended with Seraphina. It had just begun.